Well, I'm on for Broskis and Broskis of the Maverick Nation, and it is now time for part 3 of What If Izuku was Tatsumaki. It is part 3. Yes, part 3. In the last part, we get all the way to the USJ and finished all of that, so the next thing that really would be announced would be the UA Sports Festival. And so, basically, whenever the time finally came, Izuku would be like, I'm gonna crush all you guys, just hope you know that. Yeah, Izuku keeping that confident Tatsumaki personality. Yeah, I wanted to make Izuku, the way Izuku's supposed to be for this, like Tatsumaki, or at least how I remember Tatsumaki being. Being really confident and really just certain things. And, well, Midnight actually is up there, and it's like a person that did the best in the entrance exam. Get up here, Izuku Midoriya. And Izuku would be like, you bet I got best score. And, well, basically, Izuku would be asked to do a speech up on the podium. And Izuku's speech would basically be like this. Well, I understand that students from Class 1A, Class 1B, and General Studies will all be participating in this little competition. I just want to say that no matter who you are, friend, foe, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to beat you. I'm going to be the best, and no one is going to stop me. Doesn't mean I hate you. Nothing against you. Just the fact that I have to be the best. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I have to be the best, so it's not like I hate you or anything. It's just, that's how it has to be. And that's where I mic drop. And just like pull a mic drop. And Midnight would be like, well, that was surely something of a speech. And All Might would be like, yeah, really got to see true colors there. I have to be the best. Really high standards set there. And, well, basically, whenever it comes time for the whole race thing, Izuku can fly or just teleport. And so, for the first few seconds of the race, Izuku starts up flying. And, make people actually think that they have a chance. And then, Izuku stops and boop, just gets themselves to the finish line. And All Might's like, well, of course, that's what Izuku would do. And Izuku would just be like, I hope Sonic was watching that. That's how you master class. A little bit of hot, if you know what I mean. And basically, it's said the next thing is a cavalry battle. For the 1,000,000 point headband that the winner of the last activity would have. And Izuku would just be like, interesting. And basically, Izuku would have the same. Izuku would be like, just have the same team as in canon. However, instead of just, doing the same thing as in canon, there would be some flight involved. Keeping people out of reach of the headband. Yeah. And if anybody tried to do anything about it, psychokinetic attacks to the face. Yeah, Izuku would learn how to do that. Just some psychokinetic follies to the face. And it would always be like the person on the bottom so that they could trip a thing up and cause them to fall over. And yeah, Izuku would just be like, no one touches this headband. And then it would just go up in the air, and then the blast would explode and just rain a bunch of psychic attacks. And Izuku would just be like, and that's how you end a cavalry battle. And so that would be the end of that. And Izuku would just be like, okay, what's the last thing now? Midnight would roll the wheel and it'd just be like, it would land on tournament thing. And so Izuku would be like, that seems interesting. Wonder who I get to crush. And so the first person that Izuku fights is Shinso. And Izuku, also being good with psychic stuff, would be able to actually go into Shinso's mind without him noticing and tell what his quirk is and how he does it. How he makes his, how he uses his quirk basically. Basically tell everything. Get inside of his mind without him even noticing. And so whenever Shinso goes to try to get Izuku to answer him, he just gets, a little twirl around, and whenever the twirl around finally stops, twirl around in a different direction, and the psychic folly would just hit Shinso so hard that he would automatically get shot out of bounds. So yeah, there's a little reference to the name Terrible Tornado, a psychic tornado attack. And so Izuku would be like, yeah, I'm thinking. That's right. A name, a good name. The Terrible Tornado Hero, Tatsumaki. That's right. Any time now that we actually have to submit hero names, that'll be the one I submit. Now I have to worry about the people I'm going to fight. And Shoto kind of does the thing where he declares war, and it just so happens to be right before their fight. And, Izuku's just like, Well, terrible tornado, it's time for us to strut our stuff. And, Shoto's just using his ice. Izuku really doesn't care because he can just psychic tornado it back at Shoto. And Shoto was realizing this, that it seems to be like near endless psychic reserves. So he's probably going to get tired out before Izuku's going to get tired out. And he keeps on throwing his attacks back at him, making him have to overuse his ice in order to protect himself from his own attacks. And, that's pissing him off even more. He's having to protect himself from his own attacks. And, try to find a way past the psychic, randomness that he's being hit with. And, Shoto actually starts, exclaiming that Izuku is only here for, endeavors kind of thing. Only here to get him to use his father's fire. And Izuku's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, honestly, I could give a shit less about your father and him wanting you to use fire or whatever. I could actually give a shit less. What attack you throw at me? Ice? Fire? I don't care. I'll just give it back to you however many times fold with my psychic prowess. And, Shoto would just be like, oh yeah? Well, if that's the case, then maybe I should. Before, I saw something in your eyes. Something of someone. You honestly don't think that it's my father's fire. You think that our fires are different, don't you? You just aren't admitting it because you don't feel like it's worth your time. Well, if you're going to be that way, then why don't I just prove you wrong? And then he just engulfs his entire other arm in fire and just flam, 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 and just keeps on going fire, 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 like blasting him several times. And Izuku's like, well, this fire does seem to be a lot harder to deflect back than just regular ice. Ice is solid, fire isn't. So, I'm gonna have to be, a little extra with the way I deflect his fire attacks. However, that shouldn't be a problem. And so, Izuku just starts levitating, and his eyes start to glow. And he's just like, now you're gonna wish you did. You're gonna wish you didn't do that. The terrible tornado, Tatsumaki. Like the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki. That is who I am. Now. And he's just like, feel my psychic prowess. And he's just like, ha! And with just one finger, it just sends a psychic blast, like a psychic dragon. And all of the fire just gets blasted back. And Shoto even tries to throw up some, ice to help with the fire. But it only turns it into water. And, Izuku's able to control the water, like making like a spinning water tornado. And, the winds of the psychic energy are becoming so strong, Shoto is getting sucked in the water tornado. Like the typhoon. And then he just gets thrusted down, like smack. And freaking Shoto is just unconscious. But, Izuku shows the showmanship of, a hand, lending a hand, and Shoto's like, you beat me fair and square. So it's true. Really didn't care, but still, it was inside of you. You wanted me to use more than just half of my power. You really didn't care for my ramblings of it being my father's power, because deep down inside you really did indeed believe that it was my power. And because you believe it, and you've already chosen what kind of hero you want to be, that's inspiring shit, Real inspiring shit. So I've decided that from now on, I too believe that it's not that bastard's power. It never was. So, from now on, I'm going to train both my ice and my fire, but not for my father, for me. And Izuku's like, glad to hear that, buddy. What does Bakugo call you, icy hot? The little piece of shit. I hope my next fight, my final fight, in the finals, is against him, so I can just show him just how much of a little shit he is. And Todoroki would be like, and I'd be looking forward to watch you kick his ass. Yeah, Shoto, could you do me a solid and find my little brother? His name is Sonic, and he's about yay high in size. And, well, as to where I have, light green hair, he has, an ashy, dark black hair. He more goes after our father, and I more go after our mother. However, we both have our own differences. As my mother's hair was more of a dark green, and, well, it just seems to be a bunch of different types of, a wild black. While our father was more of just a regular black. And to even give you a better heads up, his quirk revolves around shuriken creation. And Shoto would be like, that's all the help I need. Okay, I just have to find your brother. I just hope I don't miss out on any of this. And, well, it gets to the finals, and all of a sudden Bakugo is there, and he's like, that nerd better not make me wait that much longer. And Izuku will be like, nerd? What nerd? And Bakugo will be like, what the hell? And Izuku is like, you know I can teleport, right? So when are we doing this, Midnight? Miss Midnight? And Midnight's just like, oh, Miss Midnight? Aw, you're just adorable. And Izuku will be like, I said, when are we doing this? And Midnight would just sense the not so nice tone in Izuku's voice. And Midnight would just be like, well, I guess now. 3, a 2, a 1, go! And Bakugo would just go barreling in, and then all of a sudden, he'd just get tossed, backflip-wise, onto his stomach. And so he would start throwing up vile how hard he got hit. And, Izuku would just be like, man, Bakugo, you're going a little slow. I mean, I at least thought you'd be able to dodge that one a little. So Izuku would just send some psychic volleys after Bakugo, and Bakugo would just send out a wall of explosions. And, well, the psychic volleys would kind of twist and contort the wall of explosions, making a giant wall of explosions that would be even bigger and psychically reinforced, and it would go after Bakugo. And Bakugo would just punch right through it, and he would just go right after Izuku, but he wouldn't be able to see Izuku. He would be like, well, where the hell? And Izuku would appear right behind him to suplex him. And BAM! And Bakugo would be like, what the hell? Just like throwing up blood now. And Izuku would just be like levitating while their eyes are glowing in midair and just be like, as I am now, I am. The terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki. That is what you will call me whenever I'm like this. And, just send Bakugo up in the air and be like, you're done for. And just send like a big spear of psychic energy and would blast at Bakugo. And he would just be sent flying, but he would catch the very edge of the arena and he would just start going after Izuku in like more unorthodox ways. And he would finally catch Izuku up for the howitzer impact. But Izuku would have his own ultimate attack. And it would be Grasping Defect. Psychic World. And, this would just be like a swirling thing. Like, Izuku would remember the F5 tornado that, his father's car was stuck in. And, just be like, he would just be caught in that, and it would slam down like, first it would be like, Grasping Defect. And that would create the tornado and kind of just have Bakugo spinning in there, and then it would be like Psychic World. And do like the double hand slam. And that would just, the entire tornado would just implode on itself. And that would send Bakugo careening down into the outside with like a giant explosion of psychic energy on itself. That would be just like a very powerful like psychic slam. Like at F5 tornado amounts of power. So it's a wonder Bakugo's even still alive. They take him off to like some intensive care just to make sure that he doesn't die. So yeah, that attack. And well, basically, Izuku would be given the first place medal, Todoroki would be given the third place, and Bakugo wouldn't be there to be given the second place, but they would have it there for him to like retrieve, or like for his family to get for like him later. And that would just be that. But not long after the sports festival, it would just be like come up with hero names. And Izuku already has one, and it would just be stated the terrible tornado hero Tatsumaki. And Izuku would just state that it was something he was thinking of during the sports festival. And so, yeah. That would be the hero thing, like the hero names thing done, but with the agencies and internships and shit. Like, basically, you would still go to the same thing with Gran Torino, Izuku would, and so they would basically go over to Hosu eventually, and that's where it would be with a sword to his chest, and the hero native would be down, and they had heard about how the hero killer Stain had paralyzed Ingenium, and Ingenium being Ida's older brother. And so Izuku would be like, really, a revenge quest? Ida, I thought better of you before, not to go on revenge quests. But I guess if it makes you feel empowered, knowing that you might have the power to defeat the one who did that to your brother. Now look where you are. Literally on your back with a sword to your chest. And Stan will be like, why aren't you doing anything to save your friend, fake hero? And Izuku would be like, fake hero, eh? Well, I'm about to show you just how fake of a hero I really am. You just said that to the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki. That's my hero name. And so now, witness the consequences. Like, witness and feel the consequences. Hero killer Stain? And just like, shoo. And Shane would be, like, Stain would be shot up in the air. He'd be like, what the? And he would just land on his back on a dumpster. And he would bounce off of that. And then onto his, like, friggin' head. And be like, what the hell? And he just, like, throws some knives. But they all would, like, fall down right before they hit Izuku. And it would just be like, it's my psychic prowess. They can't touch me. Neither can you. And it would just be like, and it would just be waves of psychic energy slapping Stain in the face. And he would be like, what the hell are you? And Izuku would be like, I just told you, I'm the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki. Now, resist no longer! And then it would just be a giant tidal wave of psychic energy. And this would just slam into Stain. And Gran Torino would be like, don't you think that was a little bit much? Like a giant freaking psychic tidal wave slammed straight into Stain. And whenever the tidal wave went through, it would actually start to heal Ida. Because Izuku can, at this point, can pick and choose whoever he wants to do damage to or heal. He can literally make it that precise. Yes, so basically the attack resist no more. Basically just Stain is unconscious and ready to just be taken to prison. So, yeah. Basically, Izuku just manhandled Stain. And it's like, first, like, it would just be like that. Ida would be like, yeah, Izuku, you're right. What I did was kind of stupid. And Izuku would be like, Kind of? You could have been killed, Ida. If it wasn't for us arriving here at this time, you could have been killed. And actually would have been killed. He literally had a sword straight to your chest. And, Izuku would be lifting Ida right now with, the psychic power. Like his Esper quirk. And he wouldn't realize it till, Ida started, choking. And then he would just put him down. And you'd be like, sorry, Ida, but sometimes I guess certain people have to learn the hard way. Like that Stain guy. I don't even know if he's still alive. But part of me doesn't care. A big part of me doesn't care. And basically, after all of that, after the internships and agencies thing, basically, well, the whole test thing would come up. And yes, now I finally have a grasp on what the test thing was. It was the students versus the teachers. And, well, Izuku would be paired up with Bakugo to fight All Might. And, well, Izuku would just be like, I can't cheat code this one. I won't let myself. All Might. He's just a bunny-eared jughead. And, Bakugo would be like, what'd you just say about All Might? And Izuku's like, really, you don't get it? Never mind. And just be like, that's what I said, bunny-eared jughead. And if you have a problem with it, you can get the crap beat out of yourself again by me. Just like what happened at the sports festival. And Bakugo would be like, I thought we were supposed to be a team, Izuku. And Izuku would be like, well, you're the person saying that for once. Huh. Us, a team? You can't be serious. And then All Might would actually come straight towards them, and he would actually say out loud that he wasn't going to hold back on either of them. So, this should be interesting. And Izuku would be like, finally, the bunny-eared jughead puts himself to good use. He's not going to hold back, which means I don't have to either. And All Might would be able to hear that, and he'd be like, wait, what do they mean by... And then all of a sudden, it would just be like, now, Psychic Dream World, Final Collision Dragon. And then all of a sudden, just this Psychic Dragon would come up, behind Izuku, and it would just go in, go straight in, and All Might would, try to push it back. But that's when it would be like, Psychic Dream World, Dream Dragon Explosion! And then it would be like, boom! And All Might would just be sent back. And, quick, while he's unconscious. And, Izuku would just grab Bakugo and just dragon throw him, and then all of a sudden he would be hurtling towards the end, the exit. He'd be hurtling towards it, and Izuku would just teleport to the exit and open it, and Bakugo would go straight through. So would Izuku. Izuku would rock straight through, and then automatically Bakugo would head straight through with Izuku. And whenever All Might would actually get up, he would realize that he lost. He actually, planning on going full speed ahead, like, lost still. It was like some sort of giant ass psychic dragon, and he freaking, like, the dragon exploded. And so, yeah, All Might's just kind of dumbfounded on how that even. So, yeah. Now, after that, what would happen, like, with the training camp, and, like, the Wild Wild Pussycats trying to do the thing where they, like, have the bus go off, and Izuku would just use the psychic powers to get the bus right back on the right track. And the Wild Wild Pussycats would be like, as well as Mandalay, would just be like, what the shit? Like, I thought we, like, got it off. Like, what's going on? And Izuku would be like, just thank God that I didn't teleport all of you. That would have been a weird out-of-body experience for the squeamish of this class. Like, and whenever Izuku says the squeamish of this class, like, it would be automatically evident who he was talking about. And just, well, this whole training camp thing, whenever Izuku went to go up and meet Kota, whenever Kota would try to punch him in the nads, in his gonads, well, a very different reaction would happen. First of all, barrier. Because, see that punch coming? Barrier. And basically, now Kota's hand is stuck in a barrier. And Kota would be like, whatever I have to do, please just unhand me. And, well, basically, automatically, as soon as, like, the barrier would go down, like, would just grab Kota by the collar and be like, stop with that. Okay? And Kota would be like, okay. And then would just drop Kota. However, with all the psychic prowess and, like, mind stuff, Izuku would kind of be able to really find, like, Kota's hiding place, like, really fast. And Kota would be like, what do you want? And Izuku would be like, your whole opinion on heroes, it's kinda, a little bit lopsided. And then we'll just go into the reasons why Kota's little thing is kinda not exactly really true. And, well, would kind of just start to slowly build a friendship ladder with him and Kota. Try to ease the way in instead of, like, get punched in the balls. Yeah, Izuku wasn't letting that happen. It would just be, eventually, things would be things, and everybody would just be chilling, and then automatically, Mandalay would be like, where's Kota? And Izuku would be like, oh my god. And then he would just teleport over to the hideout, and just like, he's not here. But I do sense tracks leading towards somewhere different. And just flick to where the tracks lead, and there's just, like, this guy, like, this big, muscle-bound dude, and, he would just be roughing up Kota, and he just would be like, yo, asshat, I don't respect you doing that to the kid, so unhand him, or get your ass freaking dropped. And Muscular would just be like, what, you think you can beat me? And Izuku would be like, 3. And Muscular would be like, oh, what is this, kindergarten now? And Izuku would be like, 2. And Muscular would be like, I'm not afraid of you. In fact, ah! And, like, the thing would just be stopped. Muscular would just be stopped in mid-motion. And Izuku would be like, 1. And then he would just be like, huh! And then just toss Muscular halfway across the entire thing. And Koda would just be like, and just be like, thank you, Mr. Oh, wait, what? That was you? That's your quirk? And Izuku's like, yeah, it's Esper. Several different types of psychic, types of things. I'm not just one type, I'm a lot of different types of psychic things. Psychic abilities and all that jazz. And, well, it does indeed seem that Senior Asshole, seems like he's gonna try and make a comeback. So, you just try and make yourself hidden while I deal with Senior Crapstain. And Koda would kind of actually think it'd be funny, the nicknames that Izuku would have come up for, like, Muscular, but would indeed hide. But would also say, just please don't die. And Izuku would be like, do you even know who you're talking to? I'm the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki. At least that's my hero name that's gonna be one day. So you don't have to worry about me dying. All I have to do is worry about you dying. So it'd be a lot less of a worry if you were to just hide, okay? And, Kodo would be like, on it. And he'll be like, on it, terrible tornado hero. And, it would be like, you got it, kid. You got it. And just be able to hear Koda say, that terrible tornado, it sounds so cool. And, Muscular would just be barreling through there. And Izuku would be like, oh, this is going to be cathartic. And Muscular would be like, yeah, for me. And Izuku would just be like, no, for me. And would just beat the shit out of Muscular. Like, with all his psychic techniques. And just, Muscular would have no idea where all these attacks are coming from. And then Izuku would finally start to levitate, and the eyes would glow, and it would just be like, now you will suffer the wrath of the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki. You will suffer my wrath! And all of a sudden, just one big blow into Muscular's stomach, cutting through all, and yes, I said cutting through all of the muscle fibers and straight into him, just taking him out. And the reason why I said cutting is because it's almost like a psychic blade around, Izuku's fist that he made. Just cut straight through Muscular's quirk. Like a hot knife through butter. And, it would just be, like, really fast. And Koda would see that, and Koda would be like, that is so cool! And Muscular would just be like, how? How? I don't understand. And Izuku would be like, just shut up. And, would just kick Muscular in the head, and he would finally just end up passing out of all the blood loss. And Izuku would be like, This may be the only time I actually kill someone. Depends on how long he can last with all the bleeding. Big old tough guy. He should be able to last long enough. Cody, you can come out now. And Mandalay would be like, "Oh, Coda!" And Mandalay would just be like, "Who are you? And thank you." And, just kind of be like, "Well, my student name is Izuku Midoriya, but the hero name that I'm gonna eventually have whenever I'm a hero is going to be the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki." And Mandalay would be like, "Why would you choose Tatsumaki? Like, isn't that kind of weird? And like, terrible tornado? That doesn't make any sense." And Izuku would be like, "Not everything makes sense in order for it to, be cool and, be a hero. Not everything has to make sense in order for it to be that. I mean, come on, just look at Bunny Ears over there. Or wherever he is." And then Mandalay would start thinking, they would be like, "Oh, by Bunny Ears you mean All Might." And he would just be like, "Yeah, I guess not a lot about him makes sense. So I guess you're right on that." And, well, yeah, that would be that. And, well, as for the captured people, it would still be Bakugo and Tokiyami. But instead of just getting through the being All Might with pizza delivery, instead, instead of anyone being able to tell Izuku not to go, Izuku's kind of already aware of everything that's been going on because of the psychic powers and shit. So Izuku's already aware and just disappears after being like, "Hey, that was nice," and whatever. And so he would just disappear and be like, "Knock, knock, assholes," and just blast the door into nothing. And Kirigiri would be like, "Oh my, this does not look good." I mean, that is terrifying. That image right there is terrifying. And, Shigaraki would just be like, "Remember, if I touch you, you die. And these two, well, we could either convince them to become villains, or kill them." And, well, Toga would be uncharacteristically actually holding a gun instead of a knife. Because, Shigaraki wanted Toga to kind of be the martyr for their deaths. At least I think that's how martyr is supposed to be used, that word. Toga will be like, "Yeah, if you try anything funny, I'll take him out right now." And Izuku's like, "Oh, is that right?" Drop dead. And all of a sudden, Toga, all of the light would just bing! And she would drop to the floor. And automatically, Shigaraki would get the gun, go for the gun, and all of a sudden, just smack! Bam! Right in the face. And Shigaraki wouldn't even see it, but what he would be able to see is that it was not a physical attack. It felt like one, but it wasn't, because it couldn't be. There was no, fist there. So, either their psychic powers are so extreme that they can do that, or, there's some serious hallucinogenic shit going on. And, well, Mr. Compress would just be like, they're still concealed. You can trust me on that." And Izuku could just be like, how about the terrible tornado show you a terribly good time in hell? And we'll just throw some, like, psychic bullets, like, in the form of tornadoes. And they will just, like, shoot at Mr. Compress. But, like, right before they could actually get to him, he'd be like, I'll make him crush him. And Izuku would be like, ah, damn. And Mr. Compress would be like, yeah, that's right. And Shigaraki would be like, that's right indeed. We could just kill them right now. So, back off. Then all of a sudden, Izuku would be like, psych. Just teleport behind Shigaraki, kick him in the head, and then go up straight up to Mr. Compress and start to choke him. And, like, they would both just be surrounded by this tornado of, like, psychic green energy. And, you know, it would kind of, like, engulf the room. And, you know, everybody would just be swirling in different directions. And so whenever the tornado ended, like, everybody would be in every which direction. Bakugo would be like, ow! And Tokiyami probably, like, would be mostly unconscious. Remember, I said mostly. And so Izuku would just be like, well, now we have that taken care of. And then there comes All For One, and All For One will be like, oh yes, that's a nice quirk for me to take. And Izuku would be like, oh yeah, in your dreams, bud. And All For One would just be like, what are you talking about? I could steal it right now. And then, like, wait, where did they go? It would just, like, disappear. Like, haven't you heard, All For One? I'm all around you. I'm above you. No, I'm below you. No, I'm everywhere. Left, right, up, down, behind you, in front of you. You have no idea where I am, do you? Just be pulling some Sosuke Aizen bullshit, like Kyokatsu Igetsu. That's literally how powerful the psychic ability would be. Like, that's how it would be. It would be like inside of All For One's head now. Like, as soon as he got into the room, Izuku would pull that shit. He would, like, shoot an invisible psychic beam into All For One's head that would, like, Kyokatsu Igetsu him into, like, not being able to understand what was going on. And he'd be like, what did you do? What is this? Is this some sort of madness? And then Izuku would just be like, no, this is the powerful. No, he'd be like, no, All For One, this is the power of the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki. And then it would just be like, now, wow. And all of a sudden, like, All For One would just get smacked. And he'd just be sent, like, careening into, like, a freaking wall, like, several miles away in, like, a different building. And he would just be like, it would be an abandoned building. And he'd just be like, where are you? I can't see you, but I can hear you. Where are you? Stop hiding. And, like, Izuku would be like, can't you see, All For One? I'm inside you. The one place where you can't fight me. This has always been a battle of the physical. Is that what you thought? But no. Truly, it is a battle of the mental. And that's whenever All For One realized he kinda can't. Like, it's just like, it's become like, he's beginning to realize he thought it was always a battle of the physical, but no, it's now become truly clear to him that there was always a battle of the mental. And in a battle of the mental, because of all the psychic powers and shit, Izuku has him beat out by a large margin. So, even with all that combat experience that All For One has, it's kind of nothing compared to having someone like Kyoka Suigetsu beamed into your head, and pretty much able to tell everything before you can even think of it yourself. Just like Sharingan to death. And so, whenever everybody would get to the scene, just like All For One would pretty much be out cold. And then all of a sudden, they'd get like a green flash of energy, and Izuku would reappear. And Izuku would be like, "Sup? How's Little Gaga dead?" And All Might would be like, "You did that? You defeated All For One?" And Izuku would be like, "What does it look like?" "Well, what does it look like?" Like freaking All Might, what does it look like? I did. I freaking, out mental battled him so hard that he had no choice but for, his entire being to shut down. He literally ceased to exist on a scale of mental comprehension. That's how bad I whooped his ass. So, yeah. I guess we can call that a win? A win-win for the heroes? That being us? Yeah, so pretty much Izuku would be celebrated whenever they got back to, everything. First thing from, beginning of the whole class thing, it would be no, actually, it would, on the bus ride back would be whenever they would be, celebrating Izuku's name, everybody would be whispering it. Everybody would be saying it. Everybody would just be like, Izuku would just be this big celebrity because of what he just did. He basically just freaking mollywopped the freaking number one villain into, nothingness. And even All Might is a psychic power quirk that's strong. And, All Might would want to get into touch with Inko because of just how strong the quirk is. But, and Izuku would tell him, his mother is dead. And so is his father, so if you're wanting to get in touch with him, yeah, he's dead too. Remember, that's kind of the reason why, me and Sonic are under your wing? Or wings? And, All Might would be like, well, if I can't search through their, mouths, I can search through certain past documents of anything that could be of use. There's a total of 5 years before second child was born, Sonic. A total of 5 years that I have to pull from of psychic occurrences. And what All Might's able to find within those 5 years is some of the craziest shit he has ever read up on. Apparently, if these documents are meant to be believed, it shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone that Izuku beat All For One so easily. Or that he beat him at all. So yeah, if these, the documents over the course of 5 years are to be believed, Izuku is God mod beyond God mod already. Just give him the hero lessons already. But Izuku could sense that there'd be more to do. I mean, his classmates have more to do, so why not him? And so Izuku would request to go through the second internships, and Samson Cannon go with Sir Night Eye, and Sir Night Eye's whole internship thing. They end up coming across the whole quirk destroying and quirk enhancing bullets that Chisaki is doing his whole thing after getting rid of the old man and pretty much using Eri for his own means. Yeah, Chisaki pretty much owns the Yakuza now. Now that the old man's out of the picture. And so yeah, Chisaki is pretty much public enemy number one. And so whenever Sir Night Eye and Izuku and the rest of everything is they're all sent in, basically the others work on fighting the extras, and Sir Night Eye will do what Sir Night Eye can do for this entire thing, and even assist Izuku in finding and defeating Chisaki, and even finding Eri. But whenever they do find Eri, it's in a hostage situation. One of Chisaki's lackeys pretty much has a gun to her head. And that's whenever Izuku does his whole thing, like what he did with Toga, and just brain destroys this person. Faster than they could even shoot. Just brains destroys the person. And before the bullet can connect with Eri's head, because they shot before he did the brain destruction thing. So, before the bullet can even connect with her head, race over there and get her over to where they are. And Sir Night Eye would be like, holy shit, you're literally that fast, too? I know you were supposed to, for my agency, and that's why we did the whole stamp thing, which you freaking masterclassed. What the hell? So yeah, Izuku's showing a lot of promise, because he just moved faster than a freaking bullet. And, in order to save Eri. And, Chisaki would be like, damn, I knew I should have done it myself. I'll just assimilate this loser. And, Izuku would be like, yeah, that's gonna be hard to do whenever I have psychic powers. And Chisaki would just be like, well, then I'll just assimilate the source. All I have to do is create a big enough ruckus, and then I'll be able to get to them. And so he basically just tells all of the Yakuza people to create enough of a distraction for Izuku so that he can get up there and get close enough to, assimilate Izuku. In which he does get this to happen. The only problem is, well, the assimilation is only 1 point. It's only able to cover 1 point. And Chisaki's like, what the hell is going on? Why can I only cover 1 point? And Izuku just turns around to look at him, and he's like, and you didn't even get to go all the way through. Your whole little assimilation thing at the molecular level didn't even burn all the way through me. Sure, it hurts a lot. It hurts like hell. But I'm not gonna let that stop me. Now, die! Die? Cannon! And basically be like, die, heroic cannon! And Chisaki be like, what the hell is a die, heroic cannon? And be like, BAM! Like, just like out of nowhere, he'd be shot through with like psychic energy, and he'd be going 1,000,000 miles a minute straight through his own freaking lair, and this big explosion as he would hit a car, and it would start like it would make it explode like the engine, and so it would send Chisaki up in the air, and he would land on his back, and Chisaki would just be like, "The hell." And Izuku would just show up there and be like, "Take one last good look, Chisaki. This is all that you've lost." And Eri would just be there, and Eri would just be, tugging at Izuku, and Izuku would be like, "Don't worry, you'll be fine. This bad man won't be able to hurt you anymore." And he would start actually kicking Chisaki's body, like, to add insult to injury. And well, after all of that's done and over, second internships and the overall thing, anything to do with the Meta Liberation Army and the whole war arc thing, well, I would say that after all this news about terrible tornado hero Tatsumaki, the Meta Liberation Army would kind of want to move away from Japan. They wouldn't want any of this. And the first sign, that would be the first sign for Izuku, like, they're moving away from Japan now. They're not advancing, they're going backwards. They're afraid of me, aren't they? I'll give them something to be afraid of. And so, while, like, the Meta Liberation Army is all, like, evacuating the area, they eventually have to make a pit stop. And that's where Izuku would just create a little bit of psychic mines. Yes, psychic mines. That would just basically create big percussion waves of psychic energy that would blast people, sending them like miles. And like whenever they finally hit the ground, they would end up dead from like the impact, if anything else didn't kill them. So yeah, these psychic mines would kind of launch people like they were flubber. And, he would do this while, like, all of the members of the Meta Liberation Army were, like, not aware of him being around. Because he could do this while they weren't aware that he was around. Because he really didn't have to be that close in order to, pinpoint precision where he wanted the mines to be. And technically the mines themselves are invisible to anyone who isn't Izuku. And so, basically, their point that they would be heading towards, they would basically be going into a big psychic minefield. Like, just heading straight towards no man's land. And just, freaking sacrificing their own lives. However, there would be a bunch of, like, armored people, like, surrounding your Destro. So, he wouldn't really get hurt. Like, the more like the people around him. So, basically, he would have a bunch of meat shields. And, whenever he lost some meat shields, he would just call some more in. Just leave the parts out about the psychic minefields. So that he could stay protected. And Izuku would just be like, every night would just be like, "You scum, Destro. One of these days you'll run out of meat shields. Either that, or I'll have to get a little bit more creative. Actually, no, screw it. It's time that I improvised." Improvised a lot, actually. And what he meant by improvised a lot, basically there would be a psychic mind, and it would be in direct, like, line of where Redestro was going. However, you know, it would only activate whenever the second person walked over it. Yeah, the meat shield wouldn't be the one getting hit. The second person, that being Redestro, would be the one getting hit. Because he made it to where it would only activate after the second person walked over it. And this wouldn't just be any regular mine. No, this mine would be a psychic. Like this mine would be a psychokinetic tornado generator mine. Like it would cause an explosion that would generate like a tornado of psychic energy around, and Redestro would just get torn to pieces, and basically, yeah. So basically that would be ensuring that Redestro died on that day, and so they would move out, and Izuku's plan would have worked. Basically, the entire thing, it would actually scare some people so that they would try to run away. But the gravitational pull of an actual tornado in real life, they wouldn't be able to get away. So Izuku, even if he really wasn't trying to, he would basically wipe all of the members of the Meta Liberation Army, like Queen Sweep, off the map. So yeah, the Meta Liberation Army, they would be gone. And any villains trying to, still continue on the League, well, technically there would be no League left after All For One's defeat. And his whole thing about returning back as a demon lord or whatever, no, that you can't technically do that if your brain's splody and no one's really there to, resurrect you. Or as, like, someone to resurrect you. And I think I left Shigaraki alive, and Toga as well. Her mind's still kind of destroyed, so it's kind of like she's in a temporary coma. Shigaraki would be in a less severe state of temporary coma, and like their temporary comas would kind of also like basically Izuku would visit their hospital rooms, not to kill them off, but actually to manipulate the structure of like the power attacks, like the attacks that he used in order to put them in that state, to manipulate the effects of the attacks, so that whenever they woke up, they would be fixed, pretty much. And by fixed, I mean, well, Toga wouldn't be insane anymore. Bloodthirsty insane. She wouldn't be insane anymore. She'd be more normal. More of a normal person. And she could even qualify as staff for UA. If, like there's actually a test, and if you pass the test, you could qualify as staff for UA, if you wanted to. And so, like, if Toga wanted to, she could actually take the test, and, she could qualify if she got a high enough score. And that is actually something that Toga would want to do whenever her mind was fixed, whenever she woke up, because basically, fixing it to where whenever they wake up, their minds will be fixed, basically. Toga no longer being insane and bloodthirsty. So yeah, all that killing intent, all that bloodlust, and all that insanity and sociopathy or whatever, all gone. you would just be altering the way he used the attacks to make these better outcomes. And well, whenever it came to Shigaraki, looking into his mind more specifically now, so he could find things that he could, do, he would indeed see some suppressed things. Those suppressed things being all these memories that Shigaraki would want to have suppressed. Actually, his actual real name isn't Shigaraki, it's Tenko, and his last name is not, what he mentioned before. His last name is Shimura. He is actually related to Nana Shimura, a One For All user, a former one. And basically what happened is his quirk reacts to his emotions in such a way that whenever he was so young, he kind of destroyed everything and everyone around him. So yeah, and the only one who seemed to be able to, deal with this, seeing as everyone seemed to think, basically, All For One was the only one to come around to actually be there and actually, accept him, and not just leave him thinking that, oh, some hero will eventually, No, All For One actually accepted him into the ranks. However, he would have to change his name, and so these would be suppressed memories, also that Shigaraki wouldn't one day go rogue, that wouldn't be a possibility, and that he could see that Dr. Ujiko did indeed also have a hand in suppressing these memories. And I know this seems a lot like my Black Panther what if, but hey, you use good content whenever you know good content. And so, Izuku would be like, yeah, you and me both are gonna find Dr. Ujiko, and maybe even Toga. Maybe, if Toga feels like it, she could help us arrest him, and make him rot for the rest of eternity. Or whatever you feel like, friend. He would just be working through, Tenko's mind. And so, eventually, whenever, Toga and Tenko wake up, they are changed. And, All Might would find it so crazy how he is just so good and so powerful already. He doesn't really have to do much. And everything's already good. So, yeah, that's pretty good. And everything's pretty much at peace. However, a certain someone really won't be at peace until Izuku is pretty much given what he should be given. A hero license, for being how much of a hero he's been. After Tenko was able to get out of all the funk, and, Toga was able to come with them because Toga was the first person to get out of all of the funk. Toga would go with Tenko and Izuku, and they would, snatch at Dr. Ujiko, and they would even find where Kirogiri was hiding. And so they would basically decide on the sentences of the two, if they should have different sentences, or what kind of sentence, or if they should even have different sentences. than each other. Like, who is he to become judge, jury, and executioner? Who is he to do that role? And so basically, fixing everything for Shigaraki would be like, he deserves a hero license. Doesn't matter if second or third year or whatever. I'm pretty sure he kicked a third year's ass last time, like, everyone was monitoring everything having to do with his life. I'm pretty sure he kicked a third year's ass. And pretty bad. Like you would not believe. What was his name? Mirio? And, Izuku would just be like, shit, the freaking Tenko, you really don't have to do that. And Tenko would be like, bullshit, I don't. I mean, come on. Like, you've done so much. It's like your family to me. And Toga would be like, I second that notion. And Izuku would be like, so, what would you be like my mother since you're technically older than me? Just by a little bit? And Toga would be like, I could be your mama, if you wanted me to be. And All Might's like, well, it's not exactly like I'm not into younger women. And he'd just be like, is this bad, or is this good, or is this, like, she's consenting to it, so I guess it can't be that bad. Like, she's consenting to the idea, at least. And Toga's like, oh, you know I'm consenting to the idea. Almighty. And All Might would just be like, Almighty? Like, first bunny years and now Almighty? Like, what the shit is up with these nicknames? And Shigaraki would be like, and that would make, well, I guess you could call me, like, an uncle. And, Izuku would just be like, uncle. Well, either that or my cousin, because really you're not too much older than me. Like Toga. Same thing with Toga. Neither of you are that much older than me. So, more or less, you seem more like the cousin type. And Tenko would be like, yeah, silly me. I kinda did forget about that. Getting lost in this whole thing. Kinda forget about a lot of things. So I'd be like your cousin, who, with nowhere else to live. And All Might would be like, oh. And, Toga would be like, please, Mr. Almighty. And All Might would just be like, well, if, then I guess young Tomura can also be considered an exception. And, Sonic would be like, cousin Tomura, you mind teaching me some cool stuff? I still have some kinks in the armor considering my quirk. And, Tomura would actually be, Tenko would actually be pretty happy to know that someone actually looks up to him and wants, help from him. He would like the fact that he feels wanted. Finally. He actually feels like he has a place to call his own. And, Toga would just be like, okay, now all of you look out for yourselves. She would kind of get some sick kicks out of being the mother figure. Like, she's not, before she was kind of like the bad crazy. Izuku kind of accidentally made it to where she was still crazy. It's just like the crazy she was a different kind of crazy. Couldn't really take all the crazy out, so next best thing, just change the type of crazy. And so Toga still has that kind of quirky way about herself to where she's still kind of crazy, but the good kind of crazy this time. So yeah, it would just be like a good happy family. It would be like Toga as the mother, All Might as the father, and then it would be like Izuku and Sonic as like the two little, kids of the thing. And, Tenko would just be like, he'd just be happy filling the role of cousin. Like cousin Tenko. Or cousin Shimura. He really didn't care what she was called, just as long as it was one of those. Like, just as long as it was nothing like of his bad past. They could kind of still remember the bad, but, it wasn't really that all impactful for the good that they were becoming. Because, Toga's thing, like, she kind of just became a different kind of crazy. And, all of the murderous tendencies were sorted out. So she kind of became like I said, good crazy, not bad crazy. And all the bloodlust and, killing intent was kind of, you know, swapped out for, like, different kind of severe tendencies. And, well, as for Tenko, he just likes being the supportive, cousin that Izuku and Sonic need. Just the one that's there for them that doesn't necessarily have to be their parent. The fun person that can be there for them, you know, both like brothers, can be there for both brothers. Sonic being the little kid of the bunch, Tanko can find some stuff to relate to in that. And Tanko can also find some stuff to relate to and how, Izuku's life is kind of like. And even whenever Tanko figures out about the whole Nejire thing, and be like, we need to get you two hooked up on, like, some sort of super date. And Sonic would be like, Mom, Dad, what's dating? And, Tenko would just be like, gulp. Like, like, shit. Like, I definitely messed up mentioning dating around Sonic. And, Izuku would be like, he is already 10. For the love of God. He should at least know something about, the outside world. If you shelter him too much, he's going to end up just like a string bean little loser. And, so a date would indeed be planned, by yours truly, Tenko Shimura, or as, it would be known, because, it's, All Might's last name, Yagi. They would technically be known as the Yagis. So yeah, Tenko Yagi now. He would have been the one to plan everything and, be like, is this alright? Be like, is this alright? Like, I've been really trying to help with the whole dating thing. And Izuku's like, man, you're really overdoing yourself, but I do indeed respect the help. So, yeah, cuz. I respect the help, cuz, but this does indeed seem like a little bit much. Just for a date. And, Tenko would be like, you never know. This could indeed be the day. I mean, I see how you look at her. That third year. And besides, you already got your hero license per my heavy request. So, yeah. It basically, like, Izuku got his hero license. He is known as the Terrible Tornado Hero Tatsumaki. Basically, the Terrible Tornado Hero Tatsumaki is now a part of their family. Because that's his hero name. And, well, basically, it's like, Nejire, and you just been thinking about Nejire, and, like, thinking, like, I don't really know if I can do this, really. I mean, this all just seems way too much. And, Tenko would be telling him about the plan, like, the plan we got, like, everything. And that's whenever, like, as Nejire and Izuku are about to indulge, all of a sudden, Nejire has to go to the bathroom. However, some people would start to, like, say something about going out to the other side of the restaurant and going out there. Basically, it would be Mirio and Tamaki. But Mirio and Tamaki, it would turn out it wasn't them. It was people, dressed up to look like them. And Nedre would be like, well, those were really good disguises. And so, what is this all about? This is actually kind of far away from their actual restaurant where I'm supposed to be having my day. Wait, what are you doing with my... And, she'd just be being hassled. And, Izuku, with his psychic powers, would be able to sense, this situation going on. Because, he would be concerned because of how long it's been. And, sensing the situation, it would just be like, no, you don't. Tenko, where's my costume? And Tenko would be like, your costume? For your date? And, it'd just be like, I always come prepared just in case. And, well, basically, you're just like, okay. And we'll just get, like, basically, the whole hero costume that Izuku has is basically, Terrible Tornado, also known as Tatsumaki. It's basically her garb, her drip, what she wears. That's basically what his hero costume is. So, yeah, basically, he would be, like, blasting over, and he'd just be like, Nejire, no! And just be like, they would have her, and she'd be, like, tied up and gagged, and they would be in a car, and they'd be speeding off. But then all of a sudden, a blast of psychic energy would hit the roof of the car, and then it would be like, hey assholes, give me back my girlfriend. And then they would just be like, holy shit. And then be like, wait, psychic powers? And is that a hero costume? Wait, no. Heard about some name, the Terrible Tornado Hero Tatsumaki. And it's like, yeah, that's right. And then teleport right on like the freaking hood of the car, and so they wouldn't be able to see anything else but Izuku. And Izuku would be like glowing eyes, and like the entire like basically his entire body would be glowing right now. Like it would be so intense, and so everything would start to shake, like if an earthquake was going on, and basically it would just throw the car up in the air and go from underneath it and rip Nejire out from the underneath of the car, like straight through like the rope and straight through the seat. And Nejire would just be like, "Whoa, if you caught anything extra, sorry." And Izuku would be like, "No, it's fine. Just have you back," and just teleport her back to her seat, and then just be like, "And me gone." And like, phew, now, assholes, you really want something? You picked the wrong day to mess with the wrong person. Now, terrible bullet! And it will just hit him and send him flying. Like, if it's sent, like, if the attack that Izuku used on Miria sent him, like, all the way into a ditch for, like, 3 miles, maybe, instead of 3 miles, this would be, like, 9 to 12, like the terrible bullet. And, just reappear again, and then just, like, grab them psychically and be like, and just be like, now, you two are going to learn the true meaning of pain. Psycho Hammer! And just smash into them, and they would just be like 6 feet in, like 6 feet under already, and they'd be like, please no more. And then Izuku would just be like, you should have thought of that before you mess with my date. Now, I'm going to crush you. Now, Psycho Prism! And it would just be like, now, Psychotic Drill! Like, Psychotic Prism, Psychotic Drill! And, like, the drill will just come down, like, BAM! And, second time, like, BAM! And, they would just be out. And be like, now to the authorities with you. But bing! And they would already be in their jail cells. And then, like, flick! Like, teleport back and be like, sorry about that. Well, at least now you get to see my costume. This is me, a terrible tornado hero. Like, basically, a terrible tornado Tatsumaki hero. Like, the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki, is what I'm pretty much going to be called. And as for the whole ratings of everything, I don't know where I really stand, but I'm probably not that high up. And then Nejire is like, are you kidding? And she would just be on her phone and be like, well, what else I was supposed to do while you were dealing out crazy damage to those assholes? And it would just be like, picked up, like, the vernacular of Izuku, too. I'm looking at the things right now, and my phone is in perfect condition. And what it says is, well, it's a message from All Might saying that he stepped down from the number one hero position, and even from, his whole entire hero career, seeing that unless absolutely necessary, he is not going to step back into action. He will try to keep everything to a minimum just so that whatever embers left of One for All, he can make sure that they are savored for as long as One for All has left to live. And Izuku would be like, well, he should have no fear. He'll have no fury like someone who doesn't like hearing that old man quitting. Whenever I get back to the house, I'm going to take up that quirk, One for All. Doesn't matter if I already seem overpowered as it is. I'm not just going to let him throw everything away. He's not like that. Not the bunny ears I know. Not the bunny ears I know. He is nothing like that. So, if I have to, I'll require the last embers of One for All, so that it can be rejuvenated again. And All Might will be hearing this, because he will just now be walking by, hand in hand with Toga, and All Might's like, are you serious about this? Young, and he'd be like, son? Are you serious about that? And Izuku was just like, well, if something else is going to interrupt our date, Nejire, 1 second. And we'll just be like, pluck one of All Might's hairs, like, ow. Well, living with you for so long, I would have eventually figured out that it's only passable through DNA. So, down the hatch. It should kick in sooner or later. The powers of One for All combined with my Esper quirk. And All Might will just be like, I'll send the message to the leaderboards. My hero work is officially not only cancelled, but there will be a new number one hero. And I'll be decided by the fact that they took up the last of my embers. And, Izuku would be like, no way. And All Might would be like, yes way. Terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki, the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki, you are officially going to be named the number one hero. And, Izuku would be like, well, sweet hot diggity damn. So, Nejire, sorry about the whole date thing being interrupted twice now. And Nejire would actually be like, no, actually, besides the whole kidnapping thing, everything was really nice. And to know now that someone like you is going to be our number one hero, that's amazing. I'm pretty much boyfriend-girlfriend with the number one hero. I can't even believe that. I might just faint. And Izuku would be like, he'd just be like, basically, and whenever it's a public statement time, because it's a big public statement, a new number one hero has arrived, and Endeavor's like, damn it, why do I keep on getting shown up? It's like, I can never win with this shit. And, well, it just turns out that basically Midnight is there, and Midnight is like, now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, may I now have your attention, please? The number one pro hero, a symbol of peace. He is the terrible tornado hero, Tatsumaki, the new #1 hero. Their actual real name being Izuku Midoriya, though, or actually, due to the new whole family thing, it's Izuku Yagi. Apparently, I've been just now informed. So get out here! And Izuku would just be like, okay, we waited for this day. And, Izuku would just step out, and Nejire would kind of cling to him and be like, wait, who's this? Like, Midnight would be like, wait, who's this? And Aizawa would be like, I think that's #1 hero's crush. And, Izuku would actually be like, yeah, this is my girlfriend Nejire. She's one of the big three. So, yeah, there's the big three, and one of them just so happens to be the, girlfriend to the #1 pro hero symbol of peace, the new one. And I, with One for All, the new once secret power, One for All Might's true quirk. With that added to my arsenal, along with my already powerful psychic powers, using my Esper quirk, I will protect all of Japan with both arms. And anything else I can do. So, yeah. Expect that. Always expect the unexpected. After all, I am the terrible tornado. I am Tatsumaki. I am the #1 hero. Japan. Oh, Japan. But don't forget about the people that got me here. Yeah, there's a lot of people that, if they weren't in my lives, I don't think I would have been able to get this far. And though I only got to know my mother and father for 5 years, and my brother only really knew our father for, well, not all that time at all, because he was just a little baby. So, technically, he didn't get to know either of them. And my brother, I think you may know him as Sonic Yagi now. And, Sonic would just sprout out from, the freaking thing. Just, bust out and be like, yeah, guys, yeah. This is so totally cool. And, Izuku's like, even though he can be kind of annoying at times, he's still my brother. I wouldn't trade him for anything in the world. And then you have my cousin, Tenko Yagi. And then there's my father and mother, my new ones. Well, not necessarily new, but... well, basically, Toshinori Yagi and... well... Toga Yagi. And, all of them would step out. And Tenko would even be like, thanks for raising me into this. And, Izuku would be like, no problem, cuz. And, Toshinori and Toga being called out, being like, these are the parents. And, it'd just be like, the entire family is out there now. And, the crowd is going wild. Like, the official inauguration of Izuku as the new number one hero, you know, that is some heavy stuff. That is some heavy shit. And so, yeah, basically, this should probably be best left off as, Izuku doing what Izuku does. And from now on, that's going to be, Izuku's misadventures as the new number one hero. Stopping, evildoers. Izuku stopping evil as the number one hero. And, even sometime like tagging along with other heroes, to spread the love. All that. And even over time, people start having a popular opinion of people that Izuku might want to recommend to be future heroes. And Izuku's like, well, maybe in the future, seeing as his dad's a pro hero currently, maybe in the future, someone, Shoto Todoroki, maybe it would be nice to have him around. We could have a rematch finally. Wouldn't that be nice to see, everybody? I mean, wouldn't that be nice to see? And everybody would just be like, yeah, hell yeah. Just be like, can I get a hell yeah? It's like, everybody's hyped for a rematch in between the two of them. And, Todoroki's even more motivated now to, like, get his hero license and become, like, one of the big heroes. Even if it means replacing his dad. Which he eventually does, replace him as the number 2 hero, because Endeavor's like, he's just having to face it. Like, in his older age, he's just having to face it. He's losing what used to make him Endeavor. He's losing all that spice. That attitude. And, Shoto is just like there, and eventually Endeavor has to tell him everything. Just has to, tell him everything he should have told him already. So eventually, whenever Shoto does get told from Endeavor all the things, and even about the fact that, the fact that we both thought for the longest time that your brother was dead, Toya, but apparently not. And, basically, Shoto, now knowing everything he knows, is like totally in for being the number 2 hero. But Bakugo's like, we're gonna have to compete for the spot. And, Todoroki's just like, more confident than ever that he can actually, do what he needs to do with the powers that he has. He's more confident than ever. But Bakugo is just driven by straight up anger and, arrogance. So he's just driven straight off the freaking face of the earth, basically, whenever it comes to the two of them. Like, I would like to say that Bakugo stood a chance, but, Shoto's, his mind is getting more collected over the time. And over time, eventually, he's just become a master of his craft. While Bakugo isn't exactly a slouch, he has nothing to really, master his craft over. Like, he doesn't have that rivalry with Izuku anymore because, the whole family thing has kind of stopped that. It's kind of really, made it hard for Bakugo to actually get near Izuku. And even whenever he tries to get near him, Izuku's always doing something else. And, in the middle of something else. And so, the one who ends up coming out with more benefits, I'm gonna say, is Shoto Todoroki. And so Shoto ends up becoming the number 2 hero. The difference here being, well, actually a lot of differences, but a big thing that's a big difference is, I'm pretty sure Endeavor hated All Might, but that's not the case at all with Shoto and Izuku. Shoto genuinely thinks of Izuku as a friend, and wouldn't mind actually working together as a team in order to solve a problem. If it was a big villain attack or a big disaster, he would have no problem at all. And Izuku would have no problem at all. And, Shoto already knows that, but, you know, things. So yeah, the number 1 hero and the number 2 hero are freaking actual good friends with each other this time around. But seeing as Bakugo still has that drive and still has that commitment, I'm gonna say that he at least gets number 3 placement whenever it comes his time. And that would be not long after, he started, getting it set in his mind that he wasn't going to beat Shoto. That he just had this bigger, thing about him that made him number 2 and made Bakugo not number 2. I mean, losing out to Izuku was already embarrassing, but that's the thing that Bakugo began to realize. That's his problem. He is so insecure. And so Bakugo began to work on his insecurities and his superiority, inferiority, whatever complex. He began to try to work on that to turn it into a actual usable weapon instead of something that will end up getting him or someone killed. And because of this, he does end up becoming the number 3 hero. So we have Izuku as the number 1 hero, and Nejire as his sweetie. And, well, Shoto as the number 2 hero, and Bakugo as the number 3 hero. They're the top of the leaderboard of all the heroes. And Nejire is it's always what are they gonna do next? Izuku, the number 1 hero, and Nejire, part of the big 3. And well, it's just it's kind of like a big 3 of the heroes, because you got Izuku, and then you got Shoto, and then you got Bakugo. So it's a big 3 of that. Because, Tamaki and Mirio, things have kind of to get deflating with the big 3. Things are just kind of deflated. However, Nejire hasn't really deflated with her skills with Izuku. Whenever they get into something, actually trying to get into something. And so I want you guys to know that I'm not going to stop the series here. Like I said, misadventures of, Izuku being the number 1 hero. What will he get into next? What will be the next thing? If you guys are into that, that would be nice. If you guys are into those types of what-if scenarios, where it's the misadventures of them now that they are at this peak. And the embers of One For All are still at it now that, basically Izuku accepted One For All, even though Izuku's already pretty damn powerful as, like, he is. So, yeah. And so, yeah, that just gives extra reason for villains not want to be near her. Not want to be near him. Because, not only does he have the psychic powers, but, like, they're buffed. They're buffed, actually buffed by One For All. And so, yeah. And, considering how strong Izuku already is, like, even in the physicality department, pretty strong, Izuku would able to get some good full cowling down. And, that would just make everything just great. Tony the freaking Tiger. So, yeah. Izuku doing their own thing. I'd say Izuku would get up to 100% full cowling. And, like 100 for, like 150 if it was like really freaking serious. Like 100 or like 150 if it was like something really freaking dire or serious. Anything beyond that would actually put a strain on Izuku's mind. Because you're working the psychic powers and you're also working One For All. And that's basically how, like, the psychic, like freaking done, like, version of One For All. And, well, you got that. And basically, what would happen next time, because I am going to do 2 videos of this. Because it's 2 videos of this, like, for a while. So, yeah. Ta-ta.